Going into year 7 here, does it feel like it flew by? Does it feel like, wow, it's only been 7 years? How do you feel as you enter your seventh season?
It has flown by. I remember like it was yesterday when I got started and was green in everything of learning not only about the Big 12, but learning a new culture, a new program, a new university. And I pinch myself that I'm fortunate, I'm blessed that this is going to be the 7th season that I get to lead this great program with these great young men we have in the program, great families, great fan base, great university. I'm excited. As you always enjoy the summertime, and you hope the summertime lasts more and more. This was a really short summer, but once we kicked off on July 23rd, it's like, okay, it's year 7. Let's go. And I feel that with our players and our coaches, and I know it is with the fan base. This build up of now we're in the middle of August and this thing's coming upon us, and I know there's a great excitement.
And how's that process been? Obviously, week 0 on top of, you guys are dealing with the 6-hour time zone difference going to this first one. How have you guys kind of approached that? Has things sped up a little bit in camp?
Yeah, they've sped up a little bit. We've had our normal camp up until now, and now we're just a little less than 2 weeks out. We'll still have some fall camp atmosphere, but we'll have to flip it and do a lot more game planning over the next 2 weeks. And then with regard to the time change, we've addressed it, we've talked about it. We'll hit it more in another week. I don't want the guys thinking about that. We've got too much work to do in preparation for a big conference game. So, some of those auxiliary things that you're going to have to cover once we have the Ireland trip, we'll probably push off until closer to departure.
How much excitement is that? Like, hey, we have a chance to kick off, the first game of the college football season, trying to take down rivals for a big one.
I think that's the great thing about this game is we were focusing on it for the Big 12. I think it's a great thing to showcase our league with 2 really good football teams in our league to be on center stage in front of the country. We need that in the Big 12. I thought that was really important when they came and approached us with. This was a year and a half ago. I knew the landscape was going to continue to change in college football. So how do we as a Big 12 stay on the forefront of that national audience and that national scene is by playing a game like this. So that's a big reason why we took on the challenge.
How great is it going to be to see the fans that are going to make the trip over?
I think that's why Anthony Travel and Aer Lingus chose Kansas State, is because we have an unbelievable fan base, and I know they're going to travel in droves. And I think this is the same thing for Iowa State. I think that's a reason why they chose those guys as the opponent, because they knew both fan bases were going to travel. They both knew both fan bases were going to pour into Dublin, and they're probably going to be at the pubs all the way up until kickoff.
How do you feel like so far through camp? Obviously 2 weeks out. Do you guys feel like you're ahead of schedule where you want to be offensively, defensively, or still some things obviously to tweak on?
Yeah, I think everybody that has returners feels good about the returners at every school, and we have them just as everybody else does. We got a returning quarterback, a few old linemen, a running back, some returners in the D-line, linebackers and secondary. It's the extra guys. It's the guys that are going to face a new role, whether that's a special teams, a backup role, or the handful of guys that are going to go into their first starting experience. Maybe they played a little bit last year, but they're now thrust into a new role. Maybe they didn't play a lot last year and they're thrust into a role. That's kind of our focus right now, is to make sure that those guys are getting around the veteran guys so that they know how to prepare. They know how to handle the atmosphere. It helps to have an older guy talk to you about it, but until you get out there under the lights, it's just a different world in college football.
Who are some of the guys that have kind of flown under the radar in camp that you've seen, either that's a person or position group that's really impressed?
I think in general, the amount of defensive linemen that we have, Chidi Obi-Izor is a guy, Toby Osunsomni is a guy that our fans know about, but are going to have a much bigger impact. Ryan Davis, Travis Bates, some of those guys are going to have a bigger impact. I think corners in Zayshawn Rich and Donovan McIntosh, those guys are going to have a different role, a much more expanded role. Those are guys that I'm talking about. Those guys backed up Keenan Garber and Jacob Parrish, and now are thrust into a much bigger role. I'm excited about those guys that have been preparing for this moment.